and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is January 13th, and please turn to page 34 in your magazines. We have 2 short news articles for you. They're short, but they're really good. Let's get going. Our first one is entitled, Australia Targets Plastic Produce Labels in Waste Reduction Effort. Wow, those are really long compounds. So, plastic produce labels, waste reduction effort.
So this is a little problem that can add up over time. And I bet you, although this name may not be familiar to you, once we start talking about it, you'll say, oh yeah, it's one of those little things that you see every day, but you probably don't think much about. But it does have consequences.
I actually think about it every single day
That's
because I eat fruit every day. So I'll talk about it a little bit later after we've read the article. Our title again is Australia Targets Plastic Produce Labels in Waste Reduction Effort. Australia has announced plans to phase out plastic fruit stickers to support sustainable packaging and composting systems. Fruit stickers are a core component of produce management in retail. Each one carries a PLU code, short for price lookup, a standardized 4 or 5-digit number used to identify fruit varieties. This coding system helps supermarkets distinguish similar-looking items, assign correct prices, and maintain efficient inventory control while minimizing checkout errors.
Yet environmental concerns remain. Over 5.6 billion plastic stickers are discarded annually in Australia. Fruit stickers that aren't removed before disposal typically end up in landfills, adding an estimated 110 tons of plastic waste to the national waste stream each year. As plastic waste mounts, the need for more sustainable labeling solutions has become increasingly urgent.
This just really resonated with me. I'll talk about it as we go through the article. So again, the title, Australia, that's the country, targets, it's our verb. That means that it has identified something and it's going to try to do something about it. And then labels is the core of our noun. And they're labels we put on produce. Produce is fruit and vegetables, basically. And then plastic, these labels are made of plastic. So listen to the stress. Plastic produce labels. We don't say plastic produce labels. It's plastic produce labels. We keep them as a unit, and the stress makes it clear what the function of each word is. And then we have another long compound after that, in. So we're making efforts to reduce something. It's waste. So waste reduction is the next one. And we are making efforts. We are trying to do it. So it's waste reduction effort. The whole thing. Listen carefully to the stress. Australia targets plastic produce labels in waste reduction effort. Now, you probably haven't learned all the rules for this, and I don't have time to tell you now, but just pay attention to stress because it makes a difference. Our first sentence, Australia has announced plans to phase out plastic fruit stickers to support sustainable packaging and composting systems. There are a lot of really important words and notions here that we need to pay attention to.
So, adding on to Karen's sentences about stress and which words you need to emphasize, pick up your pencil and mark the syllables that you really need to stress. I did that all over this because, just as Karen says, that their stress really matters in making this natural and fluent. I put my stresses on produce labels, that first syllable, not produce, which means to make, which is an extremely common mistake with younger English speakers when we talk about these words. Packaging and composting are all words that need to stress on that first syllable, and if you mess it up, it's going to kind of come out funny. Pay attention to the non-stress syllables. Those are almost always going to be a schwa, meaning it's going to sound like an or an sound, and that will affect words like produce versus produce.
Right. Good points. Okay, we have a phrasal verb here, which is phase out. It's in bold, so they're already telling you to pay attention to it. Phase out means to slowly reduce. It means we don't stop it suddenly tomorrow. It means we slowly decrease the amount of something. So fruit stickers are on practically every single piece of fruit that you buy. And I understand why they need some kind of identification. But I have long thought, why don't they use a laser to just put an imprint on the peel without having it go too deep so it doesn't go down to the flesh of the fruit so it can rot easily. Just very superficially put a laser marking on it. So I don't have to peel off these labels every time I peel my fruit or eat my fruit. The thing is, a lot of people don't peel them off. They compost the peels, and then when they're growing stuff, they've got these labels all over the garden because they do not disintegrate.
It is such a frustrating problem because, fruit almost always comes in its own natural casing. But
right.
we add stickers to them, we put them in plastic bags, and then at supermarkets, at least in the United States, you often need to weigh your own fruit, and then you put it in additional plastic bags. You take them home and toss them out. I remember when I began being able to go shopping for myself, not relying on my mother, but going to the supermarket, and my mother would occasionally come along with me. We'd go shopping together, and she was flabbergasted that I would dare not use a plastic bag for the produce that I had. I'm like, I'm just going to tell them they're bananas. The code is 4011. I memorized it. Here you go, just to reduce the plastic waste. And she just thought, why wouldn't you use all these plastic bags?
Yeah.
And the question I always asked myself was, why is everybody using all this plastic?
Because it's available. And so when I go to get my fruit weighed at the supermarket, they know me. They look at me and they say, no bag, right? I say, yes. So they know that means that most people do take the bag and then they probably just throw it out.
Yeah, you need to be the customer that is known as the no bag lady.
Yeah,
or,
that's what I am.
In my case, the no bag guy. Yeah.
Guy. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, phase out we talked about. Sustainable means something we can keep using without messing up the earth, without harming the earth. Packaging, the things that we put around something, usually just to carry it. So I bring my own bag. I have one in my hiking belt here. It's very thin material. It folds up into a little rectangle. I just whip it out when I buy something, and then you can see, okay, I guess you don't need a bag. Keep a bag with you at all times because every day we buy something.
Or the Matryoshka doll model where you have bags inside of your other bags.
Yeah, you
so
can do
inside
that
of my
too.
book bag, I have a cloth bag. And inside of there, I have two sizes of plastic bags just in case I have something wet.
Very good planning. I have that in my backpack too. That's right. Bring bags with you wherever you go. Otherwise, don't buy stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just don't buy stuff. Okay, so we want sustainable packaging, not packaging that is going to ruin the earth. And compost, not compost here, it's compost. That means taking your organic waste like peelings from the kitchen or leftovers from the kitchen. If it's cooked leftovers, you can feed it to the pigs. But if it's not cooked, then it goes into composting. That means that they chop it up and process it, and they use it as fertilizer. Okay, and so they have systems for these, so that's our last noun here. Let's go on. Fruit stickers are a core component of produce management in retail. So these stickers on fruit, I didn't know they were plastic. Usually they seem to be paper to me. I mean, the ones I peel off, they feel like paper rather than plastic.
They seem to be plastic to me from what I can recall. Maybe there are ones that are not plastic, but at least the ones that jump out in my mind, they're all plastic.
Okay, at least I know they have adhesive on the back so they can stick on. A core means central. It's part of the main part of something in the middle usually. A core component. It's mainly the most important part of produce management. That means managing fruits and vegetables. In retail, that means taking large amounts of goods and selling them to individual customers. That's retail. So if you go to a supermarket, their goods are being sold to individual people. That is retail. Our next sentence, each one carries a PLU code, short for price lookup, a standardized 4 or 5-digit number used to identify fruit varieties. Okay, here we have another compound, fruit varieties. Now, PLU, I never knew about that before, but I wouldn't say PLU. I'm pretty sure it's PLU. And it means price lookup. That means that with this sticker, they know exactly what this is, how much it should cost, what varieties, etc. It's standardized. That means across all kinds of products and all kinds of companies, they all agree on the same code. Either it has 4 numbers or digits or 5, and that we know exactly what it is we've got in front of us.
So if you happen to go to any supermarket, at least in Western countries, I don't actually know if this is present in Taiwan. But across a large number of Western countries, these codes will all be the same. Australia, bananas is 4011. And in Buffalo and in Minnesota, it's
all 4011. That's great.
All of these are standardized. Now, we have 4 or 5-digit codes. If we have 4 numbers, that just means it's standardly grown with fertilizers and pesticides. If you have 5 numbers, the number will begin with a 9, and so an organic banana would be 94011.
Wow, that's a good thing to know.
And if it's starting with 8, it's genetically modified. For example, you don't have as many genetically modified bananas, but those would be 84011. And if it's like corn, which is more commonly genetically modified,
almost
you'll see
all
that
of
8.
it.
So once you know what those numbers mean, they can kind of help you know what they are. And these are all standardized across a large number of countries, which I didn't actually know until this article because I looked at what is the code for bananas in Australia. And I said, oh, that's the same as in America.
Yeah.
And then I went down the rabbit hole and all of these countries are the same, which is pretty convenient.
That's very convenient. But there's one more thing I want to throw in here. A lot of people are really worried and hesitant about buying genetically modified food. The problem is not the genetic modification. The problem is if they modify it, it's usually so they can use very strong pesticides. The problem is not the modification, it's the pesticides. There's one called Roundup. It's glyphosate. That is the dangerous one. It's been found to cause cancer. So that's why GMOs are dangerous. It's not because of the modification.
They're so damaging to the insect populations, which support the birds, which support all the larger animals. That's right.
All right. This coding system helps supermarkets distinguish similar-looking items, assign correct prices, and maintain efficient inventory control while minimizing checkout errors. This part of it is really convenient, and that's why they have it in the first place. We want to know exactly what this is. It looks a lot like that, but it's not that. It's this, and the number will tell you that. And secondly, we need to know the price. And that's something that it's much easier to scan than it is to enter manually. You make more mistakes when you do it manually. Manually just means with your hands. And then maintain efficient inventory. If everything has a code number, we just have to look at how much we have of every code, and it's just much easier to keep track of what goods you have.
Your inventory is all of the things available that you have for sale. Now, for produce, the big secret is most of the produce you see, actually, it's just a tiny fraction of what they had available. When a lot of produce arrives at a supermarket, a significant portion instantly goes in the garbage because it's just thrown away.
And they won't give it to people who are hungry.
That's right. And they'll, in fact, poison it so people can't take it for free.
I don't even want to talk about this. It makes me so sick. That's a topic for another day. Yeah, it's really sad. And then minimizing checkout errors. That is really important because if you are a checkout person and you make errors, it comes out of your check. Okay, our second paragraph.
Yet environmental concerns remain. So we were talking about these plastic stickers, and they're very useful for all these different reasons, but there are still problems that could happen in the environment.
They are plastic, after all.
Over 5.6 billion plastic stickers are discarded annually in Australia.
And that's just one country.
That's right. And it's not a significantly large country either. There aren't all that many people there. To discard something means to throw out, and I just had a thought. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do it. These stickers are all standardized in size, and they have a standardized thickness. How tall is how tall is a tower of 5.6 billion produce stickers? I need to know this.
And you have to tell us.
I don't know. I
thought you had the answer, but it's a lot. I have seen actually posts like that on Facebook where people have stacked them up and they get very, very tall.
They can't be thicker than a couple millimeters. What is a few millimeters of 5.6 billion? It has to be stupidly tall.
But just someone who collected the stickers from his fruit, it got very, very tall.
Oh, that's right. I have heard of this. There's a guy that just collected them and made
a little sticking them on.
That's funny. Fruit stickers that aren't removed before disposal typically end up in landfills, adding an estimated 110 tons of plastic waste to the national waste stream each year.
Because they do not degrade. They do not break down. You will see them in your garden if you use them as compost, as I said. You have to get rid of them before you can use the peels and things as compost.
Hard plastic typically takes several hundred years to break down. There's this famous kind of expression regarding the slow nature of plastic that breaks down. They've said that if Leonardo da Vinci had the ability to eat like yogurt cups, we could still have cups from his time and say, Leonardo da Vinci drank out of this plastic cup or ate out of this yogurt thing. It's unbelievable to think it takes that long. And my wife ordered a package off of the internet recently, and it came with like a hard plastic like shipping material. And it was far too large for the item that my wife ordered. And I just thought, this will be here so much longer after we are gone. And what a just complete waste.
And a lot of people don't even think about it at all. I asked my students once, what do you think about those lunch boxes that you throw away? They looked at me, said nothing.
That's right. Disposable, meaning you throw it out, you forget about it. It's not something you reuse, and they eventually end up in landfills where they'll sit there. 110 tons is 110,000 kilograms. Let's continue. As plastic waste mounts, the need for more sustainable labeling solutions has become increasingly urgent.
We've got more and more plastic ending up in our bodies with like plastic spoons in our brains, or the equivalent of we have to do something. Let's go on to our second article for today. Our title is Glass Bottled Drinks Found to Contain Higher Plastic Particle Levels. This one shocked me. I was so shocked.
Karen, look at my article. What did I write next to the title? Wow, that's unexpected.
It's totally unexpected because I really go to great lengths to avoid stuff like this, and here what I'm doing to be better to the earth actually is worse for my body.
Plastic is such an inescapable problem.
Okay, here we go. First paragraph. Contrary to popular belief, glass bottles may pose a greater microplastic risk than plastic ones. A recent study found that beverages stored in glass bottles can contain up to 50 times more microplastic particles than those in plastic containers.
Researchers trace most of the contamination to the paint on the outside of the metal caps. The particles found in the drinks match the cap's coating in both color and composition. Experts suggest the issue may result from microscopic scratches that form as caps rub against each other during transport or storage. Such scratches can damage the painted coating, leading to the release of microplastic particles. When the caps are sealed onto bottles, these particles can fall into the drink.
The findings raise new concerns about packaging safety and highlight the overlooked role of bottle closures as a hidden source of microplastic contamination in beverages. Oh my gosh. Back to the beginning. So glass bottled drinks, that means drinks that we buy that come in a glass bottle. And they have found that in the liquid that you're drinking, there's even more plastic than in the liquid that you buy in plastic bottles.
So I actually needed to stop and think about glass-bottled drinks that I would consume, because I know Coca-Cola and soda pops used to more frequently come in glass bottles. However, that's not the case today. So it took me a moment and I thought, oh yeah, like beer. Like beer is often in glass bottles with metal caps.
I thought of Snapple and kombucha. They often come in glass bottles.
There we go. And also countries in South America typically avoid the plastic and still use the glass bottles with metal caps. For some reason, South America still uses this. I know because I had family that worked at high levels in Coca-Cola, and they told me about all the weird needs that they needed for South America for whatever reason.
That's really interesting. Okay, our first sentence. Contrary to popular belief, glass bottles may pose a greater microplastic risk than plastic ones. Remember this phrase, contrary to popular belief. That means most people believe it, but it's actually not true. So, a glass bottle you think should be safer from plastics, but in fact, there's a greater risk of ingesting, that means drinking in more microplastics than you do if you get a drink in a plastic bottle. The next sentence, a recent study found that beverages stored in glass bottles can contain up to 50 times more microplastic particles than those in plastic containers. Now, that is totally counterintuitive, not what you expect. So this is now getting us ready for what's coming. When you buy a drink in a glass bottle, you are actually running the risk of ingesting more plastic.
Very briefly, let's define these two terms here. A particle is a super tiny, minute portion of matter. It's super, super small, very hard to see.
A little grain of something.
Microplastic is smaller than 5 millimeters, so think about the little shiny things in your toothpaste or something like that. Paragraph 2 for our story here, researchers traced most of the contamination to the paint on the outside of the metal caps.
Never thought of that. Because they put paint on it because they want to give you the brand or this or that other information right on the cap. It didn't occur to me that that might go into the liquid.
When we trace something, that means we find or discover something through investigation. The particles found in the drinks matched the cap's coating in both color and composition, so we know it's for sure from this metal cap. Experts suggest that the issue may result from microscopic scratches that form as caps rub against each other during transport or storage.
That's totally understandable.
Right, they're jiggling around and jostling during transport. They're going to bump each other. Such scratches can damage the painted coating, leading to the release of microplastic particles.
So they come loose, and then you open the bottle, and then you've got it on your fingers, and maybe it drops into the water. That's one way it might get in.
When the caps are sealed onto bottles, these particles can fall into the drink.
So this is a different way that they probably get in. They have large factories where they put the caps on, and in this process, it probably knocks loose some of the coating.
I need to know, what would the research demonstrate regarding glass bottles with plastic caps?
Yeah,
that's the next step.
Good to know. Our last paragraph, the findings raise new concerns about packaging safety and highlight the overlooked role of bottle closures as a hidden source of microplastic contamination in beverages. And so we thought if we bought something in glass instead of plastic, we were safe. No, but these findings are telling us we're going to have to pay more attention and maybe make some changes.
Karen, very briefly, before we began this article, mentioned a plastic spoon. And so researchers thought of a way to communicate the dangers of microplastics in our body. And one researcher had a way of kind of describing it. They said that the amount of microplastics found in your brain could compose a plastic spoon. You have a plastic spoon's worth of plastic microparticles in your brain right now, which is unbelievable to think about.
And I don't think it's doing your brain any good.
No, in fact, it's been closely related to dementia.
Exactly. So use less plastic and be careful about recycling. That's it for today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.